Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And I must say, before I get started, I am feeling somewhat intrepid today. It seems to have been that kind of morning. And I think, though, my icebreaker might actually fit that a little bit. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. As you might know, I'm not from around here. I was born and raised in the Bridgeport, Connecticut area, the child of lower middle class, factory working Italian man, and a reluctant full-time nurse. And I mean reluctant because she didn't expect to have to work. So we lived a fairly traditional lower middle class life. And my parents were children of the Depression, so we were definitely raised to be frugal. They took it to an art form, actually, and we lived in a very teeny house. And as a result, one of the things we never did was take a vacation. And the only thing that approximated a vacation was every summer we got packed in a car for about a 5-hour drive back to my parents' town in eastern Pennsylvania, where we sat around while my parents visited friends. And the only happy memory I have from that whole trip throughout most of my life was our singing in the car when I was really little. The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, and what do you think he saw? He saw another mountain, he saw another mountain, he saw another mountain, and what do you think he did? He climbed the other mountain. Okay, that went on for about 5 hours, so I'll spare you the rest. Anyway, life went on in the 60s, and the 60s really changed things. Anybody who is a boomer, who grew up from that middle 50 up to the 60s, really life changed substantially. And I realized I was the youngest of 3 kids, and we were 5 years apart, and I realized as I progressed, I was very different than my family members. I was a square peg in a round hole. And by the time I was 15, I knew I was leaving that town of Stratford and when I went to college, and I wasn't coming back. It wasn't that I was rejecting my family. I just needed to be away from that environment to grow into the person that I needed to be. It was holding me. I could feel it then. It was holding me back. So off I went to the University of Connecticut. I got my degree in business, much to everyone's consternation, while my sister became a teacher and married the boy next door. So I clearly didn't fit. About a year later, I took a job in Hartford after I graduated, and a year later I took a trip to Washington, D.C. And fell in love with the city. And in my inimitable style, I went back home and I quit my job with the clothes on my back, moved in with a friend while I found a job in D.C. I got a marketing job I loved that provided me the opportunity to travel, something I'd always wanted to do. So I got to see dream cities like Chicago, New Orleans, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Wichita. And a colleague introduced me to my husband, George, and we married in 1982, about 4 years after I moved. So over the years, well, he and I always loved to travel. We actually took our honeymoon in New Zealand, again, which kind of set my family looking at us like, what the heck? But we took our kids with us as many times. We had 2 kids. We took as many family trips as we could possibly squeeze in any way, shape, or form. And one of our goals with the children was always to take them on that trip we'd always wanted, the car trip around the country from the east swinging west. It was just something we'd always wanted to do. So we put the kids in the car in 1999. Erica was 14 and Sean was 9. We packed them into a rented red Taurus with a clamshell on top, and off we went on the southern route, coming home by the northern route. What George and I didn't know at the time was we were climbing the next mountain. We got to the desert Southwest, and we'd both flown over it. I'd been to Las Vegas, so had he, but we'd never seen the landscape and the sky and the mountains up close. And we were smitten. The kids hated the rocks, by the way. You know? They appreciate them now. So by the time we were back home, we had decided that in 10 to 12 years, when the kids were both out of high school, we were moving to the Southwest. And we set our plans in motion. Life took over. The kids went on. Erica picked Appalachian State, which was a great fit for her and her athletics. Sean became more and more of a skier, and it became more apparent that the East was not going to be for his collegiate career. So on a ski trip here, he discovered Westminster College. Well, in 2008, while he was here in school, life interfered with our plans, and the market collapsed, and we couldn't sell our home. So we kind of felt a little stuck. Anyway, we went on, and in 2010, we had a year of change. I took a dream job. My daughter got engaged. Well, at least my job had a dream paycheck, okay? Our daughter became engaged. My husband retired, and we moved. We sold our home, and we moved into a rental so I could eliminate a little bit of the commute. So we were really busy, you know, planning the wedding, sort of adjusting to life in a rental after years of acreage, and we now lived in a townhouse from 11 acres. So it was a huge adjustment and a lot of change, you know. So we're going on, go through the wedding, and about 3 months later, we are literally getting on a plane, headed to a wedding in Europe, going to London, and my phone rings, and I pick it out. Yeah, boarding the plane. Yeah, it's one of our tenants, one of my son's roommates, saying, I've decided to go abroad for the semester, and I'm only going to pay you $50 of my rent. And I said, that's not going to work, but I'm getting on a plane. I'll call you when we come back in 2 weeks. We're gone. We talk about everything. And lo and behold, we both find out neither one of us is really happy with what we're doing. We're ready to go. So we come back, and what do? Put everything in motion. I give notice at my job. We tell the tenant he can move out with no penalty. And 6 weeks later, we're here in Utah. Honest to God, it was that fast. So we're now enjoying our life. We've got our outdoors. We've got the business going. It's a slower pace, no traffic. I love it. Yet, here we go. There's another mountain. The bears she sees. And what is the mountain, you say? Well, she sees the expatriate lifestyle in a few years, and she's starting to plan the climb. Thank you.